Join us right now to give us a little more insight is Scott Abraham, sports director and anchor on ABC7. What's going on, Scott?
Good morning, fellas. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It's probably a fun week to cover the team this week, huh?
Yeah, it's always, that was like a rocket ship after Monday night. That was pretty exciting. It was great to see the fan base so juiced up.
But you didn't have to go out to Ashburn because they weren't there.
I know. No, I got a reprieve, but it's been a nice little break in a sense from the daily grind. But obviously, it's nice to talk about a winning football team, and I'm sure you guys can attest to that.
Oh yeah, I didn't think that they were going to beat the Bengals. I don't know. I can't remember.
No, I was totally off, guys. I thought they were. I thought they were going to get blown out because it was such a desperate situation for Cincy. But it just shows you, like, they played a perfect game offensively.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't do that every week. It's just, let's be realistic. It's not. They're not going to do that. So my concern is obviously on the defense because they're not getting any better, and you're not going to play a perfect game offensively. Look what the Bengals did offensively themselves. They were the stat lines. They were tremendous. So it was razor thin margin.
The thing that has taken me by surprise, and it has the last few years. I guess I'm just a sucker. Is we all knew that the secondary had some issues, right? I'm just stunned that they continue to just run right up the gut on us, right? That's supposed to be the strength of our defense. What's going on there?
It seemed like it was a cat and mouse game in that Cincinnati Bengals game because they got beat early, right, with Jamar Chase. So then they had to kind of do a bracket cloud coverage so they wouldn't get beat deep. And that opened up kind of the run game up the middle because they were really trying to wreck on the passing game. And they got gashed. And you would think the Jonathan Allens, the Deron Paynes, the Johnny Newtons, that's why they're there in the middle to stop the run. So they got issues across the board defensively, and I don't think it's going to get any easier on Sunday against the Cardinals. And you have a much more mobile quarterback in the Kyler Murray comparatively to a Joe Burrow. So you saw what Baker Mayfield did with his kind of elusiveness and buying time, escaping in week one. Kyler Murray is, I would argue, much better than Baker Mayfield in that regard. So it's going to be another challenge for this defense.
Yeah, this defense, obviously, secondary has holes and issues as well. Maybe there's some help returning with Emmanuel Forbes coming back. He's been practicing. I'm looking at Nikki Javala's Twitter. She has a picture of him, I guess, wearing a protective glove or tape underneath the glove to protect the thumb that underwent surgery. Are we expecting him to be a full go for Sunday? What's the latest on Forbes?
Yeah, he's going to go. He's been a full participant in practice. Joe Witt Jr., defensive coordinator, discussed Forbes in his press conference. So all signs pointing to him being back in the lineup and being back on the field. Him and Benjamin St. Juste will be in the outside, and they're going to have to deal with Marvin Harrison Jr. He's obviously the rookie wide receiver. He did his thing in Ohio State, and he's already been tremendous in college, in the pros, and then they also have Greg Dortch, who's a really good receiver for Arizona. So the secondary is going to be tested, and you want to see these improvements from this defense, and it just hasn't come through 3 weeks. So it's concerning. I have confidence that the offense is going to continue to be able to move the ball, score some points, but do you want to get in a track meet every single week? That's not a recipe for success, guys.
Oh, I don't think they want to get in that, but I think that's what they're going to be forced to do. Like that seems to be the blueprint.
This defense is going to be a problem all year.
Yeah.
I don't think they have the dudes, the guys necessarily, especially on the back end secondary to hold up. And opposing offensive coordinators know that. So they're going to have to win these track meets, and hopefully this offense can continue this unbelievable streak of no punting, no turnovers. You got to think of, like, they're literally playing perfectly on offense.
Yeah.
But that's not sustainable. So you got to try to force turnovers on defense, get those takeaways, and try to go about it that way.
I'm just worried that whoever Forbes draws is going to be a giant physical mismatch, because not only do they have Marvin Harrison Jr., they also have Michael Wilson, who people don't talk a lot about, but he's 6'2", like 215. Like, he'll just toss around Forbes like he's a rag doll.
Yep, big body guys and all athletic guys. They can run the full route tree. My concern is Kyler Murray, because that's another layer and aspect. You see it here with Jaden Daniels. You saw it with Baker Mayfield. Okay, yeah, that maybe they lock down on their receivers. They can't get home. There goes Kyler Murray picking up a 3rd and 7. There goes Kyler Murray using his legs, picking up a 3rd and 9. Those are the type of situations that are really deflating for a defense, where you do well on the back end, you lock up on coverage, but then you have a quarterback that can run and pick up a first down. That's my concern in this game, where Kyler Murray can beat you with his arm, but also his legs, where last week against Joe Burrow, not necessarily a runner, but he can dissect you and carve you up just passing in the pocket.
Scotty, how serious are you? What are you hearing on this? How serious is the concussion issue with Ekeler? He's obviously not going to play this week. I think that's a big deal that he's not playing, especially with his
huge deal.
With his kick return available. Yeah. So what are you hearing on that, and how serious do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, he's in the protocol, and this is a serious deal. This is a true concussion where, yeah, it's serious enough where you're not going to get on a plane and travel. You're going to go right home and kind of rest and recuperate. And he's in the protocol. That's all Quinn and company would give us right now. He'll be reevaluated next week. But you mentioned it, that this is a big loss offensively, because he's that Swiss Army knife, the special teams guy on the kickoff return. Remember that second half kickoff return, that was a huge part of the game where since he's coming out of the locker room, yeah, maybe we can get a stop real quick, and Ekeler runs out a huge kickoff return. So that's going to be a point of Kliff Kingsbury. How are they going to replace an Austin Ekeler? You're not going to be able to replace that skill set. So McNichols, he's a great job in pass protection. If you remember that last dime by Jaden Daniels to Terry McLaurin to win the game there in Cincinnati, McNichols had that tremendous pass protection to give him that little extra time. So McNichols will work in the pass game, and don't be surprised to see maybe a Luke McCaffrey go into that maybe Swiss Army knife type player where you move him around quite a bit offensively.
Scott, how was Jaden holding up physically at the end of that game? Because as you mentioned, McNichols picked up a key blitz there, but when he threw that dime to Terry McLaurin, he got plowed. I mean, he got planted into the ground. Like, was he physically okay? He had to have some bumps and bruises after that performance.
Of course, it's football. It's a physical game. But, I mean, you look what he took in college, and I would argue he took a lot more hits at LSU. I remember that Alabama game where he just got destroyed. So he's going to get his bumps and bruises. He physically, he's good to go. Mentally, he's good to go. He's a tough kid. He's a competitor. He's been through the fires and the battles on the football field, from the high school to college and the pros. And the key is to stay healthy. He has the NFL in the palm of his hand right now with his performance on Monday. Everybody's talking about him nationally. The team is getting a lot more buzz. And this is what this franchise has been waiting for and needing. You want to see the progression. But I'm going to tell you this, guys. I think Sunday's game, unfortunately, is a perfect letdown spot for this team, because it's just you're on the all-time high of a great performance on Monday night, getting a huge win. Everybody's talking about you. You don't go home. You stay on the road in Arizona. It's an easy letdown spot. We'll see how they respond and see if they can kind of replicate what they did on Monday night. Because if they do that, guys, that shows you something about the makeup of this team, of how they're coached, and that this win against Arizona, if they get it, would be, in my opinion, even more impressive than the one in Cincy, because just the factors involved of getting the win in Cincy, you're all-time high, you stay on the road. So we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a short week, and they didn't go back home, so it's tough to ask the guys to play that well. But I mean, they haven't punted in 2 weeks. I know. I mean, that's crazy, and that can't continue.
No, it's not sustainable. But let's ride the wave as long as you can. And there's a recipe there. They know what works, and clearly the Brian Robinson Jr. Austin Ekeler combo is a huge factor. Losing Ekeler, how are you going to kind of figure it out of continuing this momentum? Terry McLaurin had that breakout game. You could pick your spots, pick your shots, stretch in the field. I love how they took their shots and stretch the field much more against Cincinnati. So, but it also makes me wonder, is Cincinnati really bad defensively, or was this a breakout for Washington's offense? That's another thing that I'll be looking for in this Arizona game, because Cincy's offense was dreadful, and they've been dreadful, basically all season. So we'll see if that was an anomaly, or they can continue this theme of, moving the football but converting in the red zone like they did against Cincy.
All right, Scott, should be fun. It's Scott Abraham from ABC7. Thanks, pal.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Yep, you too, man.